You finish tying the last bandage on a Maine Coon's hind leg. As it lets out a lazy purr, a fleeting sense of relief finally washes over your exhausted face. Mrs. Miller takes the carrier, overflowing with gratitude for your late-night overtime. She presses a wad of cash into your hand before pushing open the door and stepping out into the brutal, snow-swept winter night. You bolt the glass door and flip the open sign to closed. After 14 grueling hours on your feet, your spine is throbbing with a dull ache. Suddenly, a heavy thud slams against the reinforced glass. Startled, you snap your head up. Standing in the swirling snow is a man nearly frozen solid. His eyes are wide and bloodshot. He isn't holding a lost pet. Instead, a pale companion hangs halfway across his neck. The second man's left arm dangles limp, his right hand clutching his side, where a heavy black puffer jacket has already been soaked through with blood. A jarring red trail is quickly being buried by the snow. You wave them away frantically, pointing through the door towards St. Mary's Hospital, 3 miles away. They have surgical lights and professional ER doctors. You're just a neighborhood vet. But the man shakes his head violently. He pulls a cold revolver from his coat and cracks the muzzle heavily against the glass. With trembling hands, you twist the lock. A gust of freezing wind and the metallic tang of blood rush in, instantly throwing the pristine, sterile room into chaos. Slush and crimson stains defile the white floor, winding their way to the stainless steel surgical table. The gunman bolts the door behind them, and together you hoist the dying man onto the table. It's a through-and-through gunshot wound. You try to make him understand. Your daily routine consists of pulling teeth for Dalmatians, clipping parrot feathers, or spaying Labradors. You've never touched a human being with a scalpel. Save him. The gunman's voice is as cold as ice. Those 2 words leave no room for negotiation. The subtext is clear. If he dies, so do you. You scramble through the cabinets. But there is no human-grade anesthesia to be found. Gritting your teeth, you pull a vial of high-potency sedative typically used for large wild herbivores. It's a dose strong enough to drop a bull elk in 10 seconds. Your mind races, desperately calculating the tolerance of an adult male, praying this won't stop his heart on the spot. As the needle goes in, the victim lets out a muffled groan before his muscles go slack. He's out. You have 30 minutes at most. You move with frantic speed, debriding the wound, stopping the hemorrhage, and finally using the thick green suture thread usually reserved for mastiffs to pull his flesh back together. It will leave a hideous scar, but he's alive. The gunman stands in the corner like a specter, silent throughout the entire ordeal. Only when you clip the final thread does he step forward. He pulls a bulging manila envelope from his overcoat and tosses it into the tray of disinfectant. "Forget tonight ever happened," he says flatly. "Use this to fix your life." He helps his companion up, and they slip out through the side door into the blizzard. You lean against the sink, trembling, watching them vanish. When you finally open the envelope, you find $8,000 in sequential old bills. Your first instinct is to call the police, to show them the blood-stained floor and this tainted money. But the clinic has been drowning lately. The mailbox is bursting with late notices from suppliers. Your daughter's expensive art school tuition is short by a massive margin, and you're barely making the mortgage. Moreover, the gunman's cold gaze is burned into your mind. Tangling with people like that isn't something a 911 call can solve. You grab a mop, scrub away every trace of blood, and burn the paper towels. The money is stashed inside the casing of a decommissioned X-ray machine. You keep whispering to yourself, "Never again." 5 days later, on a Wednesday at 3 a.m., you're dozing at your desk, a dry anatomy lecture playing on your computer. An unknown number rings your private cell. "I heard you take emergency calls at night." The voice on the other end is modulated. You hold your breath, your blood turning to ice. "I've got a rush job. Double the pay. You should have hung up and pulled the phone line. But your eyes fall on the final notice for your daughter's tuition sitting on the desk. Finally, you swallow hard and recite the passcode for the back door. This time, it's a woman with severe knife wounds. With practiced ease, you give her 50 neat stitches. When it's over, her escort leaves a package. You count it after they leave, $16,000. From then on, you make a habit of leaving the side door slightly ajar on Wednesday and Saturday nights. In the underworld, news travels faster than a plague. A man with a shattered forearm arrives in the dead of night. You use a Greyhound orthopedic plate to set it, telling him not to lift anything heavy for 2 months. A person with severe frostbite and a half-necrotic face shows up. You simply apply high-potency anti-inflammatory ointment meant for reptiles, asking 0 questions. Cash only. No names. Burn after reading. The only thing keeping you from a nervous breakdown is a psychological crutch. They aren't all monsters. Yes, occasionally you face a hitman reeking of gunpowder and malice. But most of the time, you're looking at the marginalized, undocumented dishwashers or single mothers who can't afford a real ER bill. You tell yourself you're saving the desperate. The clinic experiences a spring. You purchase top-of-the-line ultrasound machines and EKG monitors. When you wire your daughter's tuition in full, your ex-wife marvels on the phone about the clinic's sudden turnaround. You give him a vague excuse. The old X-ray machine can no longer hold the cash. You start hiding it in the ventilation ducts. You even begin to enjoy the feeling, being needed, being relied upon. A secret sense of accomplishment. However, arrogance is often the precursor to destruction. It's 4 a.m. on a Friday. You've just reset the dislocated jaw of a young street thug, accepted a few crumpled $100 bills, and watched him leave. You lock up and walk toward your car in the back alley, exhausted. Suddenly, a silver SUV glides out of the shadows, its high beams blinding you instantly. 2 burly men in tactical gloves jump out, their movements so professional you don't even have time to react. A coarse burlap sack is shoved over your head, and you are roughly forced into the back seat. After a nauseating drive, you are hauled out. The air smells of pure sodium hypochlorite, industrial bleach. You're shoved into a swivel chair, and the hood is ripped off. You find yourself in a massive underground biolab enclosed by bulletproof glass. The medical equipment in the sterile zone outside is higher grade than a federal ICU. And in the center of the glass room lies a familiar face. A man in a custom-tailored trench coat looks at you coldly. You're the miracle worker. He points to the man on the table. Save him. The man on the table is the city's living nightmare. He controls the underground casinos, the international smuggling routes, and can even sway city council elections. Right now, this underworld tyrant is on the brink of death from massive internal bleeding. You shrink back, your voice trembling. No, I can't. I only treat cats and dogs and minor wounds. This is beyond me. The man in the trench coat lets out a disdainful sneer. In the past 6 months, you've pulled dozens of people back from the morgue using livestock meds and dog gear. At the end of the day, primates are just animals. You argue loudly that he needs a real chief surgeon and a proper hospital. The man's eyes turn predatory. Hospitals fill out forms. They alert the feds. We hate trouble. To punctuate his words, a guard nearby racks a shotgun. Animals are animals. Put on your scrubs. You are pushed to the scrub sink, where a silent male nurse hands you sterile gloves. You enter the glass room. The vitals on the monitor are plummeting. It's exactly like a ragdoll cat you once tried to save after it fell from a high-rise. You signal the man in the trench coat through the glass. You have to open him up to stop the bleeding immediately. He gives a slight nod. As your scalpel hovers over the tyrant's chest, you freeze. This man has destroyed the lives of countless innocents. If your hand accidentally slips, or if you simply hesitate for 2 minutes, he'll be gone for good. No one could ever prove it was murder, and the city would be rid of a cancer. But in that split second, your daughter's face flashes before your eyes. You think of her colorful paintings, the way she clings to you with total dependence. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and the blade precisely slices the skin. Time loses all meaning. You operate at full capacity under the surgical lights. The male nurse's coordination is flawless. He knows which vascular clamp you need before you even ask. You wonder how many times he's done this. Sweat soaks your back, and your legs go numb. But your hands are as steady as a precision instrument. As the final suture is tied into a dead knot, the tyrant's heartbeat returns to a strong, steady rhythm. He's alive. You collapse onto a stool in the corner, feeling no joy of survival, only an infinite sense of detachment, as if your soul has been drained by the surgery. The man in the trench coat walks in, truly masterful. You rip off your blood-stained gloves and wave a weary hand. My work is done. Have someone take me back. I want to go to my own home, see my daughter. I'll keep my mouth shut about tonight. The man in the trench coat stays where he is, motionless. He presses a red button on a control panel. Heavy alloy blast shields slide down, covering the transparent glass walls. You jump up in a panic and lunge for the door, only to find the airtight seal has locked you in. You pound on the metal panels, but they only emit a dull, hollow thud. You turn around slowly. The tyrant on the table has opened his eyes at some point. He is watching you with the look of a man admiring a trophy, a sickly smile on his lips. Leaving you in a pet shop was a criminal waste of talent, he rasps weakly. You shake your head in despair, pleading with him that you need to go back to the light, that you have a daughter who loves you and a life of your own. He slowly raises a hand and points toward the back of the room. A living area has been set up there. A comfortable bed, a bookshelf filled with top-tier medical literature, and a private bathroom. I've been watching you for a long time, the tyrant says softly. Skilled, discreet, and resourceful. You belong here. No, you scream. Let me out. My daughter can't be without me. A trust fund she couldn't spend in several lifetimes will be deposited into her account, the tyrant says without a shred of mercy. She'll go to the best schools, live in the finest penthouse. In no time at all, she'll get used to life without you. You lean against the cold, alloy door, your entire body shivering uncontrollably. You think back to that blizzard night, the man pointing a gun at the door frame, and the cash hidden in the X-ray machine. You thought you were just making a compromise under the pressure of reality. You thought you controlled the switch to this hidden trade. You were wrong. You spent your whole life saving all kinds of animals, only to realize in this final moment, in this world of the strong and the weak, you had long ago locked yourself into a cage you could never escape.